long story. I can give you a shorter answer as to how I became a winemaker. It was an interest of my family, my father particularly. He loved wine, collected wine. The high school I went to had an ag science course, which I really enjoyed, ag science. I went and spent a weekend doing work experience on a family friend's property in the middle of nowhere, and after about 15 minutes I realised I didn't want to be a farmer and spend my life sitting on a tractor. And one day at school I read a careers document about you could study winemaking, and I looked and thought, well, I like the vineyard part of the ag science course, I like wine, I was interested in wine, and so at the ripe old age of 13 I decided I wanted to be a winemaker. There are many great regions in Australia for making Chardonnay, and I think Adelaide Hills is definitely one of those. It has elevation, it has the cool climate, very high rainfall, produces Chardonnay with great varietal characteristics. One of the things I really enjoy about making this wine is the vineyard that we use, the Woodside vineyard, is quite a large vineyard with many different blocks of Chardonnay, with many different clones of Chardonnay. We pick each of those blocks on a number of occasions, and it gives me an incredible number of parcels to use to put together to make this wine. I think the Adelaide Hills gives lovely fragrance of fruit, gives lovely fresh natural acidity. This wine has lovely texture, but has that beautiful crunch that you want on a cool climate Chardonnay like from the Adelaide Hills. 2014 is following on the footsteps of a lot of good vintages we've had in South Australia, and I would think 2014 will possibly be one of the better vintages we've had. Unfortunately in the Adelaide Hills the crop load was very, very small. Chardonnay particularly was very small, which I think has not helped growers and winemakers, but as far as consumers go, I think you'll find some of the 2014s being right up there in quality terms. We had a wet winter, warm, dry summer. We had quite a large rainfall event early February, which freshened the vines, and quite a late harvest, so the fruit really ripened in nice, cool, mild conditions. So really, textbook vintage, really. The winemaking process for this wine is actually very complicated. The vineyard, as I said, has a lot of different sites with a lot of different clones. We pick each of those 2 or 3 times. We treat each batch separately. We have some parcels that are made carefully to maintain the fragrance and the fruit and the freshness of the wine. We have some parcels that we don't add sulphur. We allow oxidative handling. We put straight into barrels. We allow wild yeast, solids fermentation. We have some parcels in new oak, some in old oak. We have some earlier picked for acidity and freshness. We have some later picked for richness and ripeness. And I guess for me, as a winemaker, I learnt many years ago that at the end of the day, I make wine that is what I want to make, but it has to suit the customers. And in the case of the Wine Society, working with Neil to understand what the Wine Society customers enjoy, and we've tasted a lot of wines, a lot of Chardonnays to try and understand that. And I think we've come up with something that is really very much what people in the Wine Society are looking for. I think it's very important with Chardonnay to have fruit and aromatics. This wine has lovely sort of fresh cut pear characters, which I think is a very positive fruit characteristic from Adelaide Hills Chardonnay. There's very pretty floral characters. There's also the barrel fermentation, wild yeast, etc., which allows a little bit of flint, a little bit of a term we use, I guess, is funk. So there's the fresh pears, there's a little bit of funk, and there's a nice touch of new oak. All very top-end French oak. There's probably no more than about 15 or 20% new oak in the wine, but you get a combination of a little bit of the new oak and other older oak barrel fermentation that gives complexity. I was smelling the wine before, and something I really noticed that I really enjoy is like a cashew nut aromatic, which is something you do get from older oak barrel fermentation. And I think to top the whole thing, because there are some parcels that are earlier picked, there's a lovely lemon, lime, citrus kind of note going through the wine, which I'm really pleased with how the nose has turned out on this wine. Being barrel fermented, the wine has picked up a little bit of that very, very delicate gold hue, which is a very pretty colour. The tank fermented, unoaked parcels are very pale, but the parcels that sit in oak for a little while pick up a little tiny bit of colour, and I think the wine has got a very pretty gold hue to it, which is very bright and fresh and lovely to look at actually. I think one of the hallmarks of this wine, when you taste it, is very much the texture. There is a very lovely texture to the wine, which again comes from the barrel fermentation, the wild yeast, the lees contact. And I think a flaw in Chardonnay can be if it's all about texture and not about acidity and the finish, the wine lacks balance. It's got that lovely creamy texture on the entrance, but very tangy, crunchy citrus finish, which I think is very important. With a glass of Chardonnay, I think that's the feature that really makes you feel like another glass, another sip, and hopefully another bottle. Complexity, again from barrel fermentation, lees, etc., is great. The finish is this lovely sort of spicy, nutty character on the palate once the wine has you've swallowed the wine, and yeah, certainly invites you back for another sip. This wine is available from the Wine Society. I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed making it for you, and hopefully that I've captured exactly the style that you're all after in 2015. Cheers.